Now, the emphasis during our schooling career is very often to get your Matric and to get good enough results for university entrance. And what hardly anyone tells you is that university is a whole other ball game. And you are no longer the only smart child in school, and you're competing with hundreds of other equally smart kids from their schools. And there are many people from different backgrounds on campus as well. And my next guest knows this all too well. And he's the founder of Next Chapter, which helps people adjust to university and also motivates them during that transition. Tshepang Laurence Mahlatsi, who is also the chairperson of the Students for Law and Social Justice at the University of the Free State branch, joins me now in studio. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
So, as you say, very often we don't pay enough attention to that transition from school to university, and you say this is where Next Chapter actually comes into its own in playing a role in helping make that as seamless as possible. Please tell us how.
One thing that we need to note is that now the moment a student leaves home and go to the university, that transition alone, there are so many things that are taking place. One would note amongst other things that now we're looking at the culture shock. Let's say, for example, I come from a community where I've never even been in class with a person of a different color, and we also look at the financial differences, and also we look at the separation anxiety that comes along with the parents not wanting their kids to leave them. So now, as Next Chapter, we are saying we have been in a position, or I myself am a student at the university. I know how it feels like to be in an area or an environment when it seems like no one is understanding you, and that can have a negative influence, or rather affect negatively your academics. You remember that now it's a total environment, and now in each and every environment there are certain rules, there are certain cultures, and now one having to change from the culture of saying that now I'm used to my parent telling me what to do and what not to do, and getting a total freedom, that also can affect a student. What do I mean by saying that can also affect a student? Let's take a closer look at someone who has been an outgoing person. Now the parent is not there. You are hearing the voices of your friends more than the voices of your parents. Who helps you in that process? As Next Chapter we're saying, which is an organization that aims to address issues of mental health and also help students with the issues of identity amongst others, so that you can be rooted when you get to the university, not to be taken by anything or whatever storm that comes your way.
So mental health and identity, those are two very crucial issues that students have to contend with, quite apart from things like the curriculum and having to make that sort of adjustment. But let's talk about mental health.
Yes.
Where do you find students have the most difficulties?
I myself am a mental health user. In 2016, I found myself having to drop out of the university because of my depression and whatever that was happening in my life then. Then in that process, I sat down, I said, there are support services that are here at the universities, but now they can only go to a certain extent. Now, who takes you, or rather, who helps you? Then when we started Next Chapter, we said, okay, fine, let's find an organization that is going to help students with the issues that are affecting them. Now, to answer your question now, it goes to the point of saying that now, the curriculum, we need not to say we put it aside. Curriculum is one of the issues that I think is of importance, and as Next Chapter, we try by all means to say there are support services like your Center for Teaching and Learning, where they teach you to adjust to your study techniques and all others. Remember, in some schools, there's a point where students even wrote their grade 12s without even finishing the curriculum. Now imagine going to the university, having to complete an entire curriculum that took you a year at school to complete it in 6 months. So some students also, or rather parents, are not aware that now as my child might be having a learning difficulty, and some of them who do know that now they might be having learning difficulties, they find it difficult to go to your Center for Disability units to be assisted. I was telling some of the people that I was talking to in Paris, and I said to them, you see myself as this well-rounded person, but now I use the facilities, your Center for Learning and Disability unit, because my intake of information is not similar to that of the next person. They want someone who's somehow prominent on campus to say it. Only then they would start saying that now, okay, fine, let me take a step further. And also we look at the stigma that is attached to your mental health and other whatever diagnosis that a student might be having. Some of them even have to stay in their rooms and not going out or whatever that or rather being with other students. So now we're saying we can identify from that now there's an issue of identity, not wanting to admit that I'm this type of person. And also when you look into the curriculum, if we have not dealt with the issue of identity, we find it also difficult to acclimatize yourself with whatever that is happening in class. If you cannot talk about your emotions, how are you going to go and consult a lecturer and tell the lecturer that now I'm not, or rather I don't understand what is happening? So now it takes us back and say, are we developing the culture of students speaking out about how and what they feel from the young age, so that when they get to institutions of higher learning and teaching, it makes it easier for them? Because now no one can just come and tell you that, Tshepang, this is how you should act when everything is happening. Remember, when you get to the university, there are times where you sit in your room and cry because I've been studying the whole day and nothing seemed to make sense. Now, as a fourth-year law student, if I still have that feeling, imagine one person who's just saying, I'm here, I don't even know the lecturer's name. The last time I saw my lecturer, or the only time I get to see my lecturer, is when we're in class. Now, one can also ask that, now, what is the role of teachers at the schools? What is the role of other legs of government, your social development? Because now the issue of your mental health doesn't only come as a result of going to the university. Some students, when they leave their homes, it is known that now I might have been abused when I was young, I might have faced certain challenges, and now when I get into this place, I need someone to help me to unpack whatever that is bothering me, so that now when I get that side, I'm not easily triggered, because there are so many triggers that when it comes to students. Some of them might be saying, the bursary that I applied for said, okay, fine, we're going to pay for you. But when I get to the university, I have lower points, and they say, and the university says you need to change a program. When you change a program, not only that part of the curriculum is affected, or rather your career is affected. We look at the funding, and students get to be frustrated. You go to the universities or everywhere with the registration process at the moment, students are crying, not because I'm confused, but some are saying, I wanted to be a doctor. But let's take a closer look at your marks. Your marks are not allowing you to qualify that, and it goes to the point of saying that now, when the Democratic Alliance is saying, let's look at the actual pass rate of students. Of course, that point can be debated into it has two folds.
You know what, Tshepang, what you're saying is absolutely critical, and it's a good service that you offer, and I would imagine that many students would need to access this. So how do they get in touch with you, very briefly?
What we'll do is that every Tuesday, because we are operating from the University of the Free State, every Tuesday we'd have counseling sessions where we get to invite a psychologist to come in and sit in when we have a debriefing session, and most of the time we take it upon ourselves, because one of our pillar as Next Chapter is that we are an advocacy group. We go to residences, we have events where we get to call specialists to say, let's talk about, let's say, sexuality and mental health, let's talk about finance and mental health. We discuss so many things. So on our social media page is on Facebook, it's Next Chapter, on Twitter is Next Chapter, and also people can contact me so that I can liaise between them and communicating with Next Chapter.
Tshepang, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Tshepang Laurence Mahlatsi, the founder of Next Chapter, helping us unpack what it's like transitioning from your school to university, and extra information on mental health concerning 2018 matriculants, even in the midst of recent critiques regarding the nature of the 2018 matric results. Again, you know, just want to congratulate the class of 2018, but do not be shy to seek out the help that you need at your institution. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, he's here, Sharon Bryce Pease, and looking forward to this one.